on my knees again, surrendering all, surrendering all. Find me here, Lord, as you draw me near, desperate for you. Desperate for you, I surrender. I surrender. Drench my soul as mercy and grace unfold. Hunger and thirst, I hunger and thirst. With arms stretched wide, I know you hear my cry. Speak to me now. Speak to me now. I surrender. I surrender. I want to know you more. I want to know you more. I surrender. I surrender. I want to know you more. I want to know you more. Like a rushing wind, Jesus, breathe within. Lord, have your way. Lord, have your way in me. Like a mighty storm, stir within my soul. Lord, have your way. Lord, have your way in me. Oh, like a rushing wind. Oh, Jesus, breathe within. Lord, have your way. Lord, have your way in me. Oh, like a mighty storm, stir within my soul. Lord, have your way. Lord, have your way in me.
All right, you guys, we're going to try something a little more upbeat.
That was beautiful, Johnny. Yeah, beautiful.
Well, thank you. First time I've ever played.
Wow.
You're beautiful, Johnny. Well, I love the song.
guest speaker disappeared. So I just wanted to start out first of all by saying, how many of you have ever had a spiritual attack? How many of those times of those attacks made you want to quit, feel like a failure, fall on your face, all those things? So this next guest speaker that I'm bringing up here went through this yesterday. Everything that she tried to do, everything, she tried to write down, everything, it just fell into the pot. She texted me and called me last night at about 8:30, 9 o'clock and said, I just can't do it. And I went, oh, Lord Jesus. Because I'm not going to get up here and talk all 45 minutes. You don't want to hear me up here talking. So, I'm going to ask you guys to do me a favor. Before we pray, okay, it's hard enough to stand up here in front of all these faces, especially this one over here. So, what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to pay attention. I want you guys to be alert. I don't want to see people falling asleep. Let's be respectful, because as hard as it is to stand up here in this situation, it's twice as hard. And Dina has put her heart and soul in this, and she's nervous and those types of things. So she's done guest speaking before, but never like this, because this is her home. Okay. So if we could all bow our heads real quick, I'm just going to say a prayer. Precious Heavenly Father, I just come to you today, and we just thank you for this moment, Father. We thank you for the guest speaker, Dina, today, Father God. We just ask that you give her the words of wisdom, Father, that as she speaks, that it's from her soul and it's from you, Father God. And that those that are in the audience, that we have open ears and a heart of compassion and understanding and listening, Father God. We just ask you to bless this day, and we thank you for that in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. You got it, Dina.
Let's see if I can get up here what I wanted to show you guys. First, here we go. That works. Almost.
Nice.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. I'm gonna get my rock star. Don't tell Mary I'm drinking a rock star. That's okay. That's right.
Rock star.
That's right. Okay, you guys, my name is Dina, and I am proud to be a sober woman, an alcoholic and drug addict today. So I really appreciate Mary asking me and you giving me those prayers, Chris. As Chris said, I've talked and given my testimony a number of times before that you guys are my family, and it's important to me that I share details that might help you that I typically don't share. So the first thing I want to go into a little more detail about, what Chris was saying is the way I am, I've been a businesswoman for a long time, and is it better if I use this? Okay, so usually when I do these charts, what I was trying to do is like create a little testimony and have cards, and then I was going to do a little flow chart, graphs, handouts for everyone. Because that's the way I do things. So I've got a new job, been very, very stressful. It was seemingly a miracle for me to get this job, but just because it's a miracle doesn't mean it's easy. And it's been probably the hardest thing I've done work-wise in my life. So I've been at this job for about 8 weeks now. 6 of it was 12 to 14 hours a day. Actually, they try to crack the trainees, and I think our training class was about 20, and there were 7 of us left when we got through the 6 weeks. So, and there's a lot of hours. It's changed my schedule. It's changed my meetings. so I have not been able to get to my normal meetings. I have not been able to spend time with my roommates at the house, which we usually typically all spend Saturday and Sunday together. We have at least one day that we have together, so I haven't been able to do that. And so it's really upset my schedule. And I'm a person that really likes being scheduled, know what to expect and things. So I run home from lunch and I'm finishing my little dissertation on my life, and I start writing about the abuse that I endured as a kid and my mom. And suddenly I think Sam was there and a couple other people, suddenly I just get this sick, overwhelming feeling, and I literally was back there. And I mean, this is something that I have been over for a long, long time. I mean, a long, long time. I've done a lot of work around it, and I thought it was gone. So, I mean, I got sick to my stomach, I was there, I had a real bad panic attack, and I had to go to work and work with some people that are more than challenging right now. And the boss has gone, so I'm in charge, and I, you know, that means you get to do all of the stuff that nobody else wants to do. So I went back to work and came home and called Chris. You know, and I was in such an outrage, and I was having such a meltdown, and my roommates can all attest to this. I mean, I haven't had anything happen to me like this for at least 18 months since I've been here. So I said, that's it, I'm not doing it, I'm under too much pressure, I can't do it, go to work, blah, 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 all these excuses for why I can't do it. And went into my room and started making calls. And first I tried to call, you know, I tried to call everybody to get Chris's number because I didn't have it, because I just needed to tell them I'm not going to do it. I called my sponsor, I called my friends, you know, and I reached out to those people that I know I can depend on, and I've got a whole list of them. And so everybody got back to me within 5 minutes. I called Chris, he told you what I said, I'm not doing it, I can't do it. This thing, I left him a message, and then so I got out of the house and went over to a friend's house for dinner. These are spiritual people, these are people in this program. And by that time, Chris had called me back, I had prayed. One of my greatest prayers is, I trust you, Jesus, I trust you, Jesus, I trust you, Jesus. And sometimes I just keep saying that. And by the time I got in the car to leave, Chris called and I said, ah, forget that. I'm doing it anyway. It's my life. I was there. I told him this is a spiritual attack. And, you know, when I doubt myself, Satan brings those doubts. And everything that was in my head was Satan. And I know you guys have experienced the same thing. So what I had to do is say, shut up. And you can go back to hell where you came from, because I believe in God and I believe that He is going to help me in my life.
Amen.
Period.
Amen.
And so I'm up here just winging it today, and with no notes or no charts or no graphs. So anyway, first I want to introduce you to my family. This right here, this is Thanksgiving last year at my sister Robin's house. This is my brother-in-law James, his son Daniel, my other nephew Devin, and then he's got a brother named Dalton, a lot of D's, I know. And I'm sitting right over here, Robin's sitting right over here, his wife and Daniel's mom sit right next to me. And no, I did not have a glass of wine in front of me, and it was a great time. Lots of laughs, lots of talking. Lots of fun, it always is. I'm very, very close to this part of my family. And last Saturday, I got a call at work. And you know when you get a call at 10 o'clock at work from a relative, probably not good news. So, let me show you. This is my nephew Daniel. I got a call last night, or a week ago Saturday, from James, his dad, that the police had found his body with a needle in his arm. He died in an overdose of opiates, with heroin. He was 19 years old. He hadn't even reached his 20th birthday yet. So what had happened is, brilliant kid. I mean, the picture's not very big, but you can see the cords on his graduation. This is his graduation day. Brilliant kid, but he liked to smoke pot. He started about 14, and it's no big deal. It's legal. It relaxes me. It's not a gateway drug. And we really worked with him. My sister is on a team in Grand Junction. They live in Grand Junction to prevent opioid addiction. She and my other sister, Robin, are the ones that got me to Mary's. I was on a fentanyl patch, 50 milligrams, oxycodone, constantly taking benzodiazepines and drinking 24/7 when I walked into Mary's office and said, I need help. They said, you're not staying with us anymore. Go get some help. You need to check in somewhere. And so that's what I did. And here we stand, all of us. And I'm so grateful for that. So, back to Daniel, he wouldn't come to treatment down here. We were kind of guessing that he was into something else. And he met this girl in that OK pot crowd, and she was a heroin dealer, and he started using heroin about 6 months ago, and this is what happened. So, that being said, there is a solution to that. It's a waste. There is a solution to that. And the solution is God. And for me, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, or NA, or NEA. So that being said, I'm going to take this down right now and put the other happy picture back up. So, I grew up in Littleton, the real Littleton, just down by Highlands Ranch, and we bought a house out there. Gosh, I went to kindergarten out there, grew up there. We had our same family home. County line was a dirt road with a bunch of pubs in it. There was no such thing as Highlands Ranch. Everything was wooded, pretty much south of Ridge Road and Broadway, if anybody knows that area. It's just south of Mary's. And, you know, pretty normal family. My dad had a great job in sales. My mom was a third grade teacher. Very educated parents. And, you know, I grew up, when I was about 12, I realized that my dad was not a very nice person. He was beating my mom up all the time. And kind of the ritual was, if it was on a Saturday or something like that, and he'd been drinking at home, I knew that something was going to happen when he went around and closed all the windows, so nobody could hear her scream. And I'm the eldest of the 4 kids, and so if he didn't come home from work on 5 o'clock at night, you know, it was just like this pattern, constant pattern. And so if he didn't get home from work at 5, I started getting this little fear. If he was past 6, I knew it was going to be one of those nights. And, you know, this continued through junior high. And those nights consisted of, I lived downstairs, and the houses just weren't really that well constructed as they are today. You know, you could hear all the bounces and, you know, steps upstairs and stuff. And I lived downstairs, my bedroom was downstairs, and if he didn't come home at 6, he'd probably roll in, if he rolled in that night, about 12 or 1, and seriously drunk. And he would beat up my mom, and I would hear them bouncing off the wall, bouncing on the floor. And my little brothers and sisters were upstairs, so what my nights consisted of from the time I was about 12 till the time I left the house was getting all the kids in my bed so they couldn't hear what was going on, and trying to protect them. I would stay up all night. And when I was in high school, you know, I was a really good kid, good grades. I was very active in student council, the musicals. I was a cheerleader, blah, blah, blah. And so I had this seemingly really great life. And I was just so torn up inside because no one knew. And in that day and age, the police would actually find him drunk and take him home. They would pull him over for getting drunk on Broadway down here at this little dive that's still down there on Broadway, just on this side of Bellevue. And they would just drive him home. And so at that point in time, women did not reach out. You know, women did not reach out. There wasn't such a thing as drunk driving, really. There wasn't such a thing as help. There was no women's advocacy. Plus, my mother had come from a very strict Italian family. My grandparents came from Sicily. And she was more or less, I don't know if you would call it abuse, but she lived in a very structured family. So anyway, I don't want to go on too long about this, because I like to live in a solution. But anyway, that affected me greatly. And when I was older, I tried to get in the middle of them. And so the bottom line is that in trying to save my mom and my brothers and sisters, I got beat about once a week with my mom. And it was definitely at least a once a week occurrence. So I'd go downstairs, try to keep everybody calm, try to protect everybody, get up at 5 in the morning with no CD, put on my cheerleading uniform, go put up blocker tags, and pretend like everything was okay. And this whole time, I thought, wow, how can I get out? I can get out. So I got out and went to CSU as quickly as I could. And I remember feeling like I don't know right from wrong. I don't know if my mind is totally bonkers or not. Because what would happen is he'd say, oh sure, go out on Friday night. When he's sober, go out with your boyfriend. And then my boyfriend would show up at the door on Friday night, and he would be drunk, and he'd say, I didn't tell you you could go out. What are you, freaking nuts? I didn't tell you to go out. So by the time I got out of that household, I was not sure what I was hearing, or I couldn't trust myself and my own judgments. So I started drinking. You know, I didn't drink in high school. I started drinking in college. I majored in sorority house, and that worked out very well. I was actually a med tech microbiology major, and I went 3.5 years and decided I didn't like that, so I quit school and became a bartender, which my parents were so proud and happy of. So loved that world, absolutely loved it. Made a ton of money in those years. That's when Glendale was all open, and the Lift and Urban Cowboy and everything was down there. It was really, 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 really fun. And I really enjoyed drinking. And met my husband, my ex-husband, got married, had 2 beautiful children, Abby and Matthew. Abby is 32, Matthew will be 27 next month. And unfortunately, he was in construction that day and age. I'm not sure if it's the same. You guys are more familiar with that than I am right now. But there was a lot of drugs in construction, and his 2 best friends happened to be one of the biggest cocaine dealers around. So we never did anything without cocaine. Drinking first. We would go to Lake Powell, 12 of us, we're in a 50-foot houseboat. We had to take 3 vehicles, big full-size trucks full of alcohol up there just to get through the week. And usually we ran out before the week was over. And that was bad because it was really expensive when you had to buy it at Lake Powell. And I think we carried 1 cooler full of food, I don't know. But anyway, we existed on that. And those were just really great fun, you know, and I never thought, I never conceded to my innermost self that I had a drinking problem until long after that. So fast forward, I'm pregnant with my son, and I tell you all these things not to feel sorry for me, but to just set the stage for what a person can go through and still make it to the other side. I was 10 weeks pregnant with my son. My daughter was 4. I'd had a miscarriage between those 2, and my husband at that time left me for his best friend's wife, who we'd taken every single trip with, and that was a little bit of a rough patch in my life. So, you know, there was a lot of chasing around. I remember pulling, this is when cell phones were attached, they had a cord on them in the dark age, and I remember chasing him around and grabbing it, pulling the cell phone out of his car, and it was really, really, really ugly, and I drank a lot during that time. You know, I never would have chosen that time, I never would have chosen it to be that way or be divorced. But the wonder of my kids and being a single parent and getting to do whatever I wanted and be the neighborhood pool house and have kids skating through my floor down to the basement to play hockey and going through cases and cases of macaroni and cheese for everybody in the neighborhood. I mean, it turned out great. I had a great, super relationship with my kids, much closer than I ever would have had with them had I been married, because my focus was all on them. Had a big job at US West then in IT, and you know, hired a nanny. They were really cheap back then to take care of them, so I could, you know, get some help taking care of my kids. And that went on for a long time. And when I never, like I said, and my sisters and I did a lot of drinking together, particularly my one sister, Robin. She still drinks a lot, and we drank a lot and had a lot of good times. But I never thought I had an alcohol problem. So when I was about 40, I think it was right around, it was before Christmas, my daughter was 10 and Maddie was 5. And they got really scared because I got so drunk last night, and they called my sister Robin. And she came over and she brought me something to eat, and I don't even remember her being over there, but my daughter was so frightened that something was going to happen to me that she told my sister. And so she and I talked about it, and we thought, oh man, maybe we should go to one of those AA meetings. I don't know. So we went to this meeting over in this church, I don't know where it is, Littleton, or maybe on University or something, and it was down in the basement. So this is my first AA meeting, and there's all these really old men around, and they're going, yeah, I'm a drunk, I'm a this, I'm a that, and, you know, call themselves drunks and stuff. I was like, I am not one of these people. I am not a drunk. I have a small drinking problem. So I got drunk one night. It didn't affect anybody else but myself. I didn't hurt the kids. I'm not like my dad. Oh, and P.S., by the way, I have now put my dad out of my life and not speaking to him. I didn't speak to him for 25 years. So Robin and I sat through the meeting. Actually, one woman shared, I remember now in that meeting, that her daughter had died in a car crash because she couldn't stay in the program and she couldn't seek help. And it was a really depressing meeting. All these weird guys calling themselves drunks, and this lady crying about her daughter. Robin and I walked out of there and we're like, shit, we need a drink. Let's go get a drink. That was way too intense. So, didn't go back to AA for a while. So my drinking continued, and it was a problem. And I embarrassed my kids many times. And I was never, ever physically abusive to them like my dad was to me. So I thought I was being okay. And it's only when I came to Mary's and started working with Mary and the counselors here, that I realized I had been abusive to them emotionally. I was the person that they loved most in the world, and I was slowly killing myself in front of them. And they were so scared that something was going to happen to me. In the interim, I had a couple surgeries, got hooked on opiates. I flatlined one time because I was medicating myself after I got out of the back surgery. You know, when Abby and her boyfriend came to the room, and I'm in the room, there's like 10 doctors around me. Her boyfriend's sitting out there eating at Subway, and Abby's just like, I knew this day would come. I knew it would come. It doesn't surprise me at all. And that really hurt. That really hurt. So this pattern started. My family did an intervention on me, which I'm not sure how I feel about interventions. You know, I was not ready. My family was ready, but I was not ready. I was very high functioning. I was doing a great job at US West. They did an intervention. It was right after Thanksgiving. I had come to Thanksgiving really drunk with the kids and had driven them home afterwards. So it's the day after Thanksgiving, and I'm laying on the couch at my house, and I have this big, like, gallon of vodka on the counter, and of course I'm kind of passed out watching TV. The kids are at my ex's house by this time, and my brother comes over, and never has anything at his house, like no holidays, no nothing. He never has anything at his house. So he comes over and goes, hey, you know, Lisa, or his girlfriend, oh, she made some hors d'oeuvres. Why don't you come over and, you know, have some food with us? No, I'm not hungry. Have you been drinking? No, I haven't been drinking. What makes you think that? There's a huge bottle of vodka sitting right in front of him. Haven't been drinking. Well, you gotta come over. So he convinces me to come over. I walk into the living room and there is my daughter, my ex-husband, my current boyfriend, my mom, my whole family, and it's not my birthday, so I know that something's going on really bad. And so what happened is they just said, you know, you don't go to treatment tonight at Parker Valley Hope, we're done with it. And I said, no, 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 I have this huge implementation going on in December, just let me get through the implementation and then I'll go to treatment. Well, they were not having that. So I went to treatment that night without even a toothbrush and stayed there for 30 days, came home before Christmas, it was a little short of 30 days, because I wanted to be with my kids, and my whole focus the time I was in treatment was on my kids. It wasn't on me, it was on my kids. How do I get out of here? I'm not ready. I was drinking a week after I got out of there. So then I call it the inpatient, outpatient, round patient tour that I went through for about the next 8 years. I went up to Harmony one time. I was in just numerous outpatients, and I had this chronic relapse of problems. So what would happen, the pattern is that I would get sober, and then I would go out and celebrate when I had 30 days sober and get drunk. And then during that period of time, my ex-husband would take the kids from me, and then I'd pretend I was sober for a while, and then I'd get caught, and then my husband would take the kids from me, and then I'd go into another inpatient or a halfway house or a something house, get sober, stay there for 9 months, and then the kids would slowly come back to me, then I'd relapse again, the kids would go back, and this went on for years. So the last, that was a red light. The last, this house that I was in, to really dodge a DUI, started getting DUIs. And I think I had 2 DUIs, and just to dodge the courts, and so I wouldn't have to go to jail, I enrolled in this house, and it was privately run, and now thinking back on it, the lady was pretty crazy. She wasn't certified or anything. Anyway, I stayed there for 3 months, relapsed, went back in for 9 months, and I had this roommate that was a meth addict. And I had no idea what meth was. And I got out of there, I still stayed sober for about 30 days, and then I just started drinking a little bit. And the bad thing about my disease is that when it allows me to drink a little bit for a long time and control it, so then I have the illusion that I can control it. And then all of a sudden I'm in bed drinking 24/7 or waking up in jail. That's just how it works for me. And I still could not concede to my innermost self that I was an alcoholic. I mean, after all this, and my mom kept saying, you're too smart, you're too this, you're too that. Why don't you just stop? No one in my family, with the exception of my sisters, thought it was a disease and thought that I needed some spiritual intervention to stop. And all this time I'm in and out of AA. Dragon's Den is where I go. That's my home. And one time in the Dragon's Den, right before I got sober, in this period of time in my life, it was about 2003, this one gal, she had cancer, she had ovarian cancer, and she was really struggling with it. She fought a good fight. She'd been sober for about 10 years, and she kept saying, if I could cure my cancer with these 10 steps or 12 steps on the wall, then I would. I wish I had 12 steps that would cure my cancer. You know, and that's when I started thinking, there is a solution. There is a solution. Maybe I can get out of this. And I had sponsors and this and that, but they were bad, and I fired them because they couldn't keep me sober. And I didn't know what was wrong with them. So on and on and on. I get out. This is just a vicious cycle with the kids and myself. And I went into this 9-month facility. I had the same roommate. So we both get out, and I hear that the first day she gets out, she's injecting methamphetamines again. But my role in it was I knew that, and I still stayed friends with her. At the time I was sober, she kept calling me up, going, hey, come on over, this is great. You've got to experience this, you've got to experience this, you've got to experience this. I was like, no, I don't want anything to do with that. That's not anything I want to experience. And she called me one day after I'd been drinking. And her boyfriend came over and got me. And for the next 3 days, I let him inject methamphetamines into my veins. And it was pretty ugly. Pretty ugly. So I thought, oh, now this is the end, I'm going to stop. They moved to Arizona, and I get this call, hey, there's no good drug dealers down here. Do you think you can go to our meth dealer and get us some drugs and send it to me? I'm like, ah, sure, no problem. And, you know, I'm in my 40s, come on. I mean, who lives like this? And, you know, I had a great job. I had a home. I've had 3 beautiful homes. And I'm like, sure, I'll send it down to you. So I go to their meth dealer. I not only get some from them, but I just decide I'm going to get some for me too, even though I don't know how to do that. And stayed in my apartment for the next 4 days doing that to myself. And I was awake for 4 days. And during that time, I saw a spiritual battle. And this is my truth. And I know what I saw. I saw a spiritual battle between Christ and Satan over me. And it lasted for days. And it was really strange because I had this cross on that my kids gave me, and it kept appearing in this flash I was having, or this hallucination I was having. And obviously God always is glorious and he wins. And he won that day. So then I tried to commit suicide and ate a bunch of pills. One of my AA friends found me, and I barely made it out of that one. It was a Porter Psych unit, which some of us are very familiar with. And then I went to my priest, and I got this from my priest. I'll show it to you. It's never far from me. It's called Joshua. And what it's about, he was like, he heard my confession about, I'm going to stand on this side, the shed's too bright over there. He heard my confession about me trying to take my own life. And I told him my whole story, and he's like, man, God's way too big for you. You better start with Jesus. You need to have Jesus in your life. God is way too big of a concept for you. So he gives me this book. And so I start reading this book and stuff, and it's really about Joshua, Jesus. And he comes back to earth kind of in current times. I'm not sure exactly what time it is, but it's a very simple message. It's a very simple book, and it's kind of like all these religions have it totally screwed up. You know, he loves us all, and all he asks is that we love him, love ourselves, love our neighbors, and keep our side of the street clean. That's it. Quit fighting among religions, quit fighting among ourselves. It's a really simple deal. And so I'm going to AA meetings, and I'm sober at this time because that last experience of the suicide and the meth, that was about it. And so I'm still sober, start reading this. I'm going to the 6:45 meeting at Dragon's Den, a.m. And because I was afraid to leave the Dragon's Den, I literally camped out at the Dragon's Den. I was afraid to be alone because I was afraid I was going to drink. So that's where I lived. And I started telling these guys, I'm sure it's coming off benzodiazepines. I just don't feel right. I feel like something's going on in me, and I can't figure out why. And they were like, after they listened to me a few days and stuff, they said, I think you're having a spiritual experience. I'm like, yeah, dance, the Klonopin. I'm sure it's coming off the benzos. There's no, you know, it doesn't happen like that. And I'm very familiar with AA at this time. So, all these really great things started happening. I'm just having this feeling like this hole in me is being filled by something really bright. And so I get about 3 weeks into it, and I'm reading this book. I'm about halfway through, the book's sitting on the counter. at my apartment,
Excuse me.
and all of a sudden I have this great idea that I'm feeling pretty good, so I'm going to go get a drink. So, I mean, and this is not something, I mean, all of my relapses are planned. I mean, I truly believe that when we relapse that we plan it, whether we know it or not. So, because I have got to get, I don't have a license at this time, of course, so I've got to walk to the liquor store, then I've got to buy it, then I've got to walk back, then I'm going to make the drink, so I have plenty of opportunities to stop. So I make one drink, this tall, of half the bottle of vodka and soda, and I set it on the counter, and literally, this book is sitting here, my drink is sitting here. And I hear, this works for you, this doesn't. This works for you, this doesn't. So I'm like, oh man, those benzos are killing me. And so I was like, well, I can read that later. And so I grabbed the drink, and I threw it down my throat because I didn't want to drink it, because I was really, really afraid that this thing inside me that I didn't understand would go away, because I liked it. It felt good, it felt filling, and it felt bright. But I drank the drink anyway. But at that moment, I just had this overwhelming feeling that I didn't want to do that anymore. I really drank about half of it, but I threw the rest of it down the drain. I picked that bottle up and I poured the rest of it out, and I picked up this book, and I went over to the sushi place and I just read it. And by the grace of God and a lot of work and a lot of really wonderful people in AA, I stayed sober for the next decade. And by the grace of God, only. And what I've learned in AA, a lot of people, you know, poo-poo AA and stuff, but AA is a spiritual program. AA, NA, whatever AA. You know, it's kind of like the book Joshua. All it wants you to do is recognize that you have no control over this problem. And in working the steps and stuff like that, what I found out was I wasn't working the program, I was working Dina's program. And Dina's program was not working out very well for me. So I had to be beaten into submission. Not the elevator was not, I mean, it was way down there. My bottom was way down there. And I had to be beaten so much. That's what it took for me to conceive that I had to surrender. Just like the song that Johnny sang. It's about surrender. I had to surrender to God. I can't, He can. I can't, He can. And, you know, we have a lot of slogans and stuff like that. And you know, I can't, He can. And this is right out of Psalms. Be still and know that I am God. These are the things that were said to me in my first AA. So, after that, our group kind of broke up. I stopped going, getting complacent. I got this, I never need AA, I'm fixed. And I met a man. And women, you know, it's always the man's fault. So, met a man, and he had a lot of wine in his wine cellar that was like a couple $100 a piece, and that's kind of my Achilles heel. So I just said, oh, what the heck, I've been sober a long time, I'm sure I can probably handle it now. I start drinking. It let me drink for about a year, sold my condo, moved in with him, and all of a sudden I was drinking 24/7. Drinking 24/7. That split up. I continued drinking, started using opiates, and my sisters kicked me out. Fast forward. I was going to go to the Salvation Army, and I was all set to go there, and there was just something that didn't feel right about it. And so all of a sudden I see this thing, Mary's Hope. And so I call up, I actually got Mary, and I said, this is the deal, I have nothing. I have nothing, I'm spiritually broke, my detox is horrible. Oh, I just got another 4th DUI, by the way, and spent some more time in jail. And yes, I have stayed at the Douglas County Spa more than once. So, So Mary said, I will help you if you work hard. And I had nothing. I will help you if you work hard. And she said to me, and she doesn't remember saying this to me, she cracks up every time I say this. She said to me, the people that do what I say make it, the people that don't. And I was like, well, clearly I'm going to do what you say. And so I did that. I did everything Mary said. I still do, to the best of my abilities. And it's been wonderful. I was supposed to go to prison. I should be in prison today. But through Mary and through Chris and Shay, the counselors I went through, Fred, and all of you people that have been here that welcomed me in. You know, my attorney told me, guys, most of you have heard this story, my attorney told me, you're going to prison. It was a 4th DUI. Your BAC was close to 0.3. You're a menace to society. And I said, well, the judge is not the final judge. And my attorney said, you think some God is going to come in here and sweep you out of this problem? And I really was upset when my attorney said that. I was like, you're supposed to be on my side. And he said, just let him go to prison. So I called Mary on my way home. I was really upset. And I was like, forget that. I am standing firm that I am not going. And Mary told me this whole time, and everybody told me, Shay would tell me, Chris would tell me, everybody told me, you are not going, stand firm, have faith. And I did that. And some very spiritual things happened along the way. You know, I was listening to Joel Osteen, Joyce Myers every single morning and praying. And I was listening to Joyce this morning. When I pray, and you've heard Mary say this too, when I pray and then I believe it is happening. I believe it's happening. And it's kind of like God is working in our life. To me, and this is my experience, when I send up a prayer, God starts working on it right then. It might not be the time, you know, I want it now. I want it now. This is a disease of let's have it now, no matter what it is. And so what he does is he sends down angels. She was saying this morning, it's kind of cute. He sends down angels to start answering our prayer, and by the time the angel gets here, we're already doubting that God's going to do anything for us because it's been too long. So the angel goes back up to God, and she's like, well, gave up hope. So then we start praying again. We start believing that God's going to do something. Sends another angel. We start doubting. The angel goes back up, but couldn't do anything. Started doubting. And, you know, when doubt comes over me, you know, and I've seen it work. My life is a miracle, you guys, and I could talk another hour about the miracles that have happened to me just in the last 18 months since I've been here. And I hope I didn't focus too much on the bad part, because my life today is amazing. Am I perfect all the time? Do I make mistakes? Hell yes, I do. I make a mistake every day. But I hope this doesn't offend any of you. I am not focused anymore on my mistakes. I spent my whole life beating myself up because of my mistakes. And now God is in my life. He has the solution. He has provided us with all of these tools to use. This book, the AA Big Book, our Bible, my notes that I take when I come to Jumpstart. You know, we cannot doubt at all. I do not doubt him. So, you know, the devil can go home. The devil can go home for all of us. There's a solution, and it's here. It's in this room. I mean, just think about me reaching out last night and the spiritual attack. And it was rough. It was, I thought I was totally psycho again. A little bit, yeah. So, actually, I want to share a scripture that I noted when I was listening to Joyce this morning. And it's about doubt. And of course, every time something happens like this to me, if I open the Word or go to a meeting, there's always something that totally pertains to what I'm going through, and it saved me more than once. Let's see if I can see these. this is Mark 11, 23 and 24. If I can find it here. So Jesus replied, "Have faith in God constantly. I assure you and most solemnly say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be lifted up and thrown into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart in God's unlimited power, but believes that what he says is going to take place, it will be done for him in accordance with God's will. For this reason, I am telling you, whatever things you ask for in prayer in accordance with God's will, believe with confidence and trust that you have received them, and they will be given to you." And my sobriety and my God, everything has come from God and the tools that He has provided me with. This wonderful place that we get to experience every day. And I believe and I know that God is with everyone each day, and my prayer for you is that you never ever have to go what I did to get to here. So we can all make it. Don't ever, ever give up. And hopefully you'll get a lot sooner than I did. Thank you for letting me share.
Does anybody have any questions for Dina real quick? Any comments, questions, concerns?
Do you sponsor?
I do, temporarily. I'm actually going through the steps kind of a different way with my sponsor, and it's pretty intense right now, so in about 3 months I'll be open for that, but if anyone needs a temporary sponsor, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
Jenny, did you have a question?
I was just going to see if I could read your Jesus Calling book for the day.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Here.
Alrighty, so anybody in here have dirty, nasty teeth, sore teeth, got on their teeth? We have dentists over here next door, Affinity, I think it's Affinity Dental, that will be here to meet with you to help get you set up. They accept Medicaid today, so they'll get you set up on the thing. So if you need work done on your teeth, you guys need to go next door. They'll be over here for about an hour or whatever. They're going to help get you scheduled. If you guys cannot do an appointment, can't get to them, they will actually come pick you up and chauffeur you to their place, mobile dentistry. So you got mobile dentistry that accepts Medicaid. You cannot beat that.
Hey Chris, do they do like basic cleaning
I
and stuff?
think they do everything.
Okay, they do a good job too.
They do. So we just had a few of our residents that went there on Friday.
Just straighten and cleaning.
Is it walking or do you call them?
Yeah, they're right here today, but so you can go see them, set up an appointment, they'll help you out today, and then you can set up as well. Any other questions about that? Prayer request.
Edgar's uncle, he decided to we got word this morning, the storm's shifting and it's going right over. He decided to write it down and he's like going to be in the thick of it today. And I just want to pray for him and everybody affected from all the serving, the Highlands, all the people.
Just keep Jesse and her family in their prayers.
Her childhood friend next to my ex-Dan's partner, he's still in stage 4 cancer and they couldn't take the tumor out, so.
I'd like to pray for Jessie, her family, everything that's going on, and then I'd also like to pray for my friend Jackie, who is also writing out the hurricane, and then everyone who is affected by everything that's going down.
So just real quick before I get to just the story with Jesse, most of us don't know. Jesse's got a brother that's in the hospital right now. He is on life support, and they have to make a decision today. So it's a hard decision for them to make. So just keep them and lift them up in prayer.
I want to pray for the Silver Homes as well as my Silver Home. lot of new people, energies, personalities coming in that we all mesh well and can build a relationship together and be successful and achieve some right.
And that's